they can do it like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
So they say you can adjust the height up or down
Okay.
on the right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same order as the Excel spreadsheet. It's listed as
Good evening. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of Measure P Committee with now being called to order, 6 o'clock. Do a roll call. Oh, the pledge first.
Roll call. Chair Jones,
Present.
Committee Member Briseño,
Present.
Committee Member Bunch,
present.
Committee Member Gaddies, Committee Member Santos.
Present.
Thank you. Our next item is community forum. Our queue system is down today, so if we have anyone wishing to make a public comment, please come line up in front of this podium, and we will hear public comment about things that are not on the agenda.
Jose Carrizales. I have been participating in the Measure P committee for the last 3 years. I think this is the 4th year. in existence, and Jackie would correct me. One of the comments that I initially made was not to anybody in Vallejo staff or the Vallejo police to use this committee as an ATM, as a Christmas wish list. And as I read the agenda, very, very long agenda, very, very big agenda, which is very common as we get close to the budget. There seems to be a bit of pressure on this committee to pass because we're close to the budget, and that's the reason why. So I would hope that this committee understands, and I know you do, that the role of this committee is to be very prudent, very careful with the money, and to follow the 9 criteria. I did not vote for it, and it's well known in the city of Vallejo that I did not vote for Measure P. Be very careful on how my tax dollars is spent. And as I read through the agenda, which was a little different, it seems like even Santa Claus couldn't fulfill this wish list. And the staff is a master of using the English language to attempt to convince this committee that these asks from the the Vallejo police falls in line with the 9 criteria that a few of the citizens of Vallejo voted for. So I would hope that this committee stays in line with the 9 criteria and make sure, because you are responsible for tax dollars, the expenditure of tax dollars, of my tax dollar, and members of the public, to be mindful of making sure that the money is spent that follows along the line of the 9 criteria, because that's what the citizens voted for. Not for creativity in the words to convince this committee to, it's close to the 9, but not really, but it's close enough. Building trust in the community is important. Making the right decisions will continue to build that trust.
Hey, what's up? Good evening to the Measure P Commission. Real happy. Everybody's starting up, but I was on the Measure P committee because I care a lot about these issues and I have a unique knowledge. And I wanted to share that, and also how I think the Measure P committee should function. There's a lot of it's not clarified. There's a lot of different ideas, so I'm going to share mine. The committee members are not hired or elected. They should have no regulatory or supervisor relationship with the city staff at all. And how I viewed the committee was that it was to do things that the council go deeper into the issues than the council has time to discuss it. I mean, I thought this was like sharing knowledge and developing and coming up with ideas for recommendation. Just taking the time, and if there's a problem like malfeasance or something, report it and respect workers. So other than that, I have a lot to say about some of the other issues, but while I'm here, I think that anything from the fire department should be a requisition, not a request. As soon as Measure P was available, the fire department should have been asked to hand in a list of everything they needed. The people that risk their lives shouldn't be answering to anyone. Thank you.
If there are any other speakers wishing to make public comment, please come to the podium. And if there are not, are there any online speakers?
Through the chair, there are currently no online speakers on Zoom that have raised their hand.
Thank you. We will go ahead and continue on to the report of the committee secretary. The consent calendar, the approval of minutes, action item, consent item A. Chair Jones?
Action item A, approval of the minutes, recommendation to approve of minutes from the regular meeting of December 8th, 2025, February 9th, 2026, and March 9th, 2026.
I approve. Or accept.
I second the motion.
Thank you.
Now we'll take a vote.
Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseño?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
I'm abstaining. I was not present for those meetings.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Item passes with 4 yeses and 1 abstained.
Next item on the agenda is the report from the committee secretary.
I have nothing to report at this time.
Now, the city attorney's report.
Nothing to report this evening, Chair.
Report from the city council representative.
I know, I live here. A lot of meetings over the past couple weeks. Good evening, commissioners. Really happy to be here. As is the case, I usually give out an update on council activity, and then I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys may have. So this past month, we've had a lot of activity, a lot of the conversations happening at the council level. We proceeded with approving a subdivision in the Glen Cove area. We approved a temporary MOU with the Scotts Valley tribe to provide services. We also went through a very extensive hiring process for an interim city manager, Mr. Harry Black. He will be beginning on May 16th. And as we look ahead, we're going to be spending a lot of time on the budget. As you guys know, we have a $29 million structural deficit, and so we're going to be working with Mr. Black, with Ms. Conley and Ms. Hain to make sure we are starting to make some headway in right-sizing our agency and setting up the organization for our long-term financial health. In addition to that, this coming week, we're going to be having conversations around 2 key items, one of which I just mentioned a few seconds ago. The first is the budget. We're going to be having a budget workshop next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. And then we will also be covering in pretty good detail the shipbuilding report that was published by the Roosevelt Group, which we retained back in late 2025 to really look at our assets and put together a plan that we could act on to activate the city of Vallejo as a shipbuilding destination. And so we're going to be spending some time on the economic development front, starting to work on our budget starting next week. And so that's where the focus will be over the next couple of months as we head into the summer. The last item that I forgot to report out on is Mare Island. We had a special meeting this past Monday to talk about essentially all things Mare Island. Residents have for years raised concerns around CFDs and special taxes assessed to homeowners in that area. We also talked about the infrastructure upgrades and the rehabilitation that needs to take place on the island. And give city staff some direction around that. And so it's pretty much all hands on deck. We're trying to tackle all of the issues that we've been talking about for years and years and years. And so that's why I made the, offhanded remark at the start that I've been spending a lot of time in the council chamber. So happy to answer any questions you guys may have. And I want to thank you again for your service. And I also want to know that I hear the feedback that the commission has been sharing in terms of meeting cadence. I know you have a lot on your plate this evening, and so part of what I hope we can do with Ms. Conley, with Mr. Black, and with Ms. Hain over the next couple of months is get to a place where you guys have an agenda that can get you out of here in a reasonable amount of time that's within the scope of what this commission is supposed to be looking at, and that also gets information out to the public in a timely basis. And so I'm committed to working with the chairman and the vice chairman to make improvements in that area. And, I just want to thank you for your patience as we work through that. So that's all I got. Happy to answer any questions. Okay, sounds good.
If you could use the mic, Chair. Can you try again?
Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. I kept pushing the button, but okay. Report for the chairperson and the members of the committee. I don't have a report. Anybody on the commission has a report? All right, moving right along. The next action item is the election of the vice chair.
As we get into the action items, I do want to make a comment that we will hear tonight's action calendar in a different order than published, and I will list out the letters as we hear them. I also want to make a note that action item O is being removed from the agenda and being moved to the Measure P Oversight Committee regular meeting that is on May 11th, 2026. Our first item tonight is action item A, election of the vice chair.
All right, I would like to recommend Regina for vice chair.
Yeah, sure.
Get a motion to
I move that we accept Chair's recommendation to have Commissioner Regina as our vice chair.
I seconded.
All right, we'll vote now.
Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseño?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Item passes with all members approved.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Our next item is action item B. Adopt a resolution recommending, or in the alternative, not recommending, that the City Council receive and file the Measure P annual report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025.
Good evening, Chair Jones and committee members and the newly appointed Briseño. Congratulations. I am here to present the audited fiscal. There you go. Sorry about that. The audited fiscal year 24-25 for Measure P. We will start first with a presentation with LSL. They should be on.
Good evening. I'm sorry. I I'm actually out sick today. My name's Christian Towns. I'm the partner on the engagement. So Barrett Warnick, he's actually worked with you as well for this engagement. He's going to be joining, but I think he was having trouble getting the panelist access. So he is listed as an attendee right now. Is it possible to have him switched over to panelist and then he can do the presentation?
We're working on that.
Thank you so much.
It should be fixed now, if he can try again.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you so much. I apologize for creating the delay. As mentioned, my name is Stephen Warnick, and I'm a CPA with LSL CPAs. I'm a senior manager on the engagement and I work closely with Florida Cruz. As Christian mentioned, she's the partner on the engagement. And we've performed the compliance audit of the Measure P funding for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2025. If we could skip to the next slide. This is effectively the team that worked on the engagement. As mentioned, Christian's on the line here with us as well. And Brandon was also an oversight partner, and Keely Gonzalez was the in charge. If we could go to the next slide. We performed our engagement this year to review compliance with Ordinance 1866 2D, Measure P, and then also the measure direction approved by council to determine whether funding was spent in ways that were allowable with the recommended appropriations. If we could skip to the next slide. We primarily performed our field work during the fall, during November and December of this year. During that time, we look at internal controls and review how expenditures are reviewed and processed. We also provided some feedback to management and worked closely with Florida's team discussing how the funding is monitored and tracked and kept record of. We also performed detailed testing of transactions to ensure that the spending was in compliance with the Measure P ordinance and also with the direction that was approved by the council. Next slide. We could advance just sorry, here we go. So the results of our audit, we issued an unmodified opinion over the compliance of the program with the Measure P ordinance. The city complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements referred to in the ordinance. And we also issued an internal control report over compliance related to the funding and the use of the funds, and no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses were identified or reported as the resulting from our audit. Next slide. Any questions? Is there anything that we can kind of go into more depth on or discuss?
I'm good.
Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide. The next slide is basically from the finance team giving you the results of the Measure P.
I'm not hearing anything. Perhaps my audio is not working.
I don't know.
I'm not hearing anything either, Barrett.
Can you hear me, Stephen?
Go again. The presentation summarizes the financial position of the spending for June 30, 2025. This schedule is provided solely for the public information and for transparency purposes.
Are you all able to still hear us?
Oh, maybe mute him. Okay. Yeah. Funds are tracked separately by the project.
Looks like it may be muted on the.
Okay. Funds are tracked separately.
Are you able to still hear us?
Yes, we can still hear you.
Okay.
Okay. One more time. So the funds are tracked separately by project and by fund number. So the project is project 228 and our fund numbers are 005. Okay, next slide. Cannot. Okay. Ooh, hold on. Okay. Okay. We're having technical difficulties. I think so. Okay, it's getting there.
For those watching, we're having just a little technical difficulty.
Okay. So the results of the audit is our pool cash of investments is about 28.5 million. The tax receivable is about 3 million. This is 2 months of our taxes of May and June. Notes and loans receivable about 2.9 million, and these are loans receivables not expendable. So the total asset is 34.4 million. Our liability, total liability about 400,000, and those are basically invoices. Deferred inflow of unavailable revenue about 20,000, and the total fund balance of 34 million. So this year, we end June 30, 2025, we ended with a strong position and low liability. So our fund balance breakdown, the non-spendable, which is the loan principal, is about 2.9 million. And committed for Measure P projects right now is 17.6 million. And the assigned for Measure P is about 13.5 million. And that is the in the fund reserve for voter approved purposes, those are the 9 categories. Okay. Our financial activity, your total revenue of 19.1 million is basically the 17.5 million that we received in revenue plus the 1.5 million from investment income. Your total expenditure of 6.6 is the 9.5 million that was spent in expenditures and the 2.9 million of the loan. So that gives you the 6.6. Net change in fund balance about 12.4 million. You're leaving with the ending fund balance of 34 million. We provide this chart to show you what has been appropriated in Measure P funds. Street and sidewalk are category number 6. Homelessness is category number 3. Crime prevention is category number 2. And other funds are the remaining categories that you have on the 9. So the finance team would like to thank you for all your participation in the Measure P.
If there are any public comment for this item, please come to the podium and you will have some time to speak.
So question, does this reconcile to the spreadsheet that was sent to us?
Which spreadsheet is that?
What's the name?
The
Measure P
expenditure
revenue-
report.
I'm sorry.
Measure P revenue expenditure?
The revenue, well, this is solely for fiscal year 24-25, so your revenue report might have additional, right? So it doesn't account for 25-26.
Are there any speakers on Zoom? Comments?
Through the chair, no one has raised their hand on Zoom for public comment.
All right. Any comments from the, okay.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's adopt a resolution recommending that the city council receive and file the Measure P annual report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025.
I motion.
I
I
second.
second.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseno?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Item passes with all approved. We will move on to action item number C. Adopt a resolution recommending or, in the alternative, not recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution establishing a procedure for forwarding certain Measure P items to the City Council when the committee is unable to achieve a quorum.
Any comments?
Yeah, I'd like to hear about it. I'd like, yeah.
I'm sorry, your question was that you had some questions about this motion?
Yeah, how did it come about?
Sure.
Why is it being brought forward?
Right. So there are a lot of departments that depend on being able to bring their items to the Measure P committee for consideration before moving them to council, especially if those items fit within those 9 priority funding areas. And unfortunately, with the committee not able to achieve quorum over several months, it put certain departments and certain asks under some pressure because they wanted to come before Measure P, but they were unable to do so. So one of the solutions that we have, because of course if they go to the council directly and state that they'd like to use Measure P funds, the council always says, well, did you go before the Measure P committee? So if they were unable to do so, the recommendation for 2 consecutive months, because for whatever reason you're unable to achieve quorum, that they would be approved to go directly to the council for consideration.
So it doesn't say for 2 consecutive months in here.
I think she was speaking of when we did not meet for the two months.
Is this supposed to be if there's 2 consecutive months, then it would go to city council?
I believe so. In the handout that was attached with the emails for that one, it did specify 2 consecutive months. Because that's the thing I'm looking at. If it's missed once, that's pretty sad, but twice, okay, I can understand maybe.
So the language in the resolution itself, I think, is instructive. It says that the committee hereby recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution providing that when city staff have a funding request requiring Measure P Oversight Committee review, and staff have attempted to agendize the item for 2 consecutive monthly meetings, with each meeting canceled due to a lack of a quorum, the item may be forwarded directly to the City Council without a Measure P Oversight Committee recommendation. So yes, 2 consecutive misses,
Yes.
they would be able to go straight to council. 2
What do you
misses
guys think
because of
about that?
lack of a quorum.
What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that would then, I understand not having a quorum, but I do think that would eliminate the reason of even having a Measure P. So it wouldn't be my recommendation. We would just have to come back.
I'm in line with what you're saying.
I'm believing that moving forward that we're going to have a quorum. So with that being said, do we have any public comment? Would be next.
Secretary Salas, I had not intended to speak on this one, but the questions prompted me to speak. And I know this committee understands their role, their important role, to help the citizens of Vallejo and to help this city. And you know and understand your purpose. However, when staff attempts to go bypass just because life happens in your life, an emergency, flat tire, sickness, death in the family, shouldn't be allowed, in my opinion, humble opinion, to go around the responsibility of the Measure P committee, who, and remember, and I know you remember, the citizens of Vallejo voted for this committee to be established. Life happens. There may be a time where you're going to have to miss a meeting. Who knows? We don't have a crystal ball. The meeting is scheduled for a certain day, a certain month. We don't know what's going to happen that day. Anything could happen. Staff can always go to the city council and ask for money, in some cases beg for money from them, but hold on to your duty to the citizens of Vallejo, responsibility in taking care of our tax dollars. And by maintaining your responsibility, by maintaining the strength of this committee, by maintaining the political will of this committee. Trust is a very missed word in this city, not only because of the fox, but because of other things. So begin the process of rebuilding the trust. Begin the process now. The time is now to go ahead, hold on to who you are, and maintain the credibility of this committee, who the citizens of Vallejo voted to establish. Thank you.
Are there any Zoom callers, comments on Zoom?
Through the chair, there are currently no speakers on Zoom that wish to make public comment.
Any of the commissioners want to say anything? Comments?
We ready to make a resolution?
Adopt a resolution not recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution establishing a procedure for forwarding certain Measure P items to the City Council when the committee is unable to achieve a quorum.
I second.
Can I get a motion?
I motion.
I
You can-
second.
Chair Jones,
I didn't get what the motion was. Can you repeat what it is?
Not recommend.
Okay,
Not
got it.
recommend.
Chair Jones,
Yes.
Committee Member Briseño,
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch,
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies,
Yes.
Committee Member Santos.
Yes.
Item passes, not recommending with all approved. We will move on to action item. Moving on to action item D, adopt a resolution recommending or in the alternative not recommending that the City Council authorize, 1, carry over all of unspent Measure P funds allocated to the iHeart program in fiscal year 25-26 to fiscal year 26-27, and 2, approve use of additional Measure P funds up to $275,000 for a consultant and professional services agreement with Felton Institute for the iHeart program in fiscal year 26-27.
Chair Jones, before you start that, I want to say one thing about the handout that I gave you this evening. So the council liaison asked me to provide this to you this evening. I provided you the wrong one. So there are actually 9 categories. I gave you the one with 8. That was the first one the council adopted. There's a second one. The 9th category is youth services. So that's not there, and I just wanted you to all be aware of that. The other categories are exactly the same in the other one.
Thank you.
Good evening, committee. Bob Knight, your Deputy Chief of Police. I know you have a packed agenda tonight. We are going to try to be concise and brief. This first presentation will probably be our lengthiest, so once we can get through this one, I think the others that we get to tonight will be much more brief. I just wanted to start off real quickly by saying I was before some of you around this same time last year to seek this same funding. And I just wanted to reiterate before the presentation starts and I turn it over to staff and from the police department and from Felton that I feel we did what you asked. So you gave us full funding for the iHeart program. We leveraged every single grant that we could. We took the money. We have money left over from last year's Measure P allotment that we would like to carry over. And so we are asking for a much, much, much reduced model compared to last year. So we will be able to fund the whole program for another year with I think it was about $275,000 from Measure P as opposed to $1.5 million from last year. So I'll turn it over to staff.
Hello. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say hello to everyone on the panel. And again, thank you for this very uncomfortable opportunity, but nonetheless, we're here. So I want to begin with just an overview of the program. iHeart at its core is a component of Vallejo's public safety reform initiative, specifically designed to strengthen community engagement in non-law enforcement response to mental health and behavioral health calls. We operate as civilian responders, and because of the non-law enforcement component, it allows us different outcomes, different types of engagement with the community, and also increased trust. Our team is composed of community members with lived experience, clinical alignment, and service-driven mindset. Our primary function is to de-escalate crisis situations, conflict resolution in real time, and direct linkage to services and stabilization supports. A key component of what we do as a program is, and I guess our focus is to reduce unnecessary law enforcement involvement while increasing appropriate service connection and long-term outcomes. When we talk about compassionate support, our approach is relationship-centered, not incident-centered or reactive. Our core practices is rapport building, trauma-informed care, and peer support. We focus on humanizing our interactions, humanizing individuals' experiences, and also stabilizing emotional and behavioral escalation and building trust with continued engagement. As a result, we have increased client openness, increased client engagement, as well as service acceptance. Just again, looking at the proactive mental health approach, iHeart does not operate in isolation. We function as a hub within a larger care ecosystem. We actively build collaborative relationships with providers, CBOs, and clinical partners, and we welcome cross-system input to improve our outcomes. Our motto is data-informed, evidence-aligned, and community responsive. Our goal is always to move from reactive crisis response to proactive system coordination. And finally, on this slide, we talk about ongoing care and safety. iHeart values extends beyond the initial call. We provide consistency, follow-through, and soft case management. focus on system navigation, barrier removal, and long-term stabilization. And the goal or the outcome is to reduce repeat crisis calls, increase continuity of care, and strengthen community safety through stability. Okay. So I had to skip, okay. Types of calls and demographics. iHeart primarily responds to welfare checks, potential 5150 evaluations, and resource-driven calls involving law enforcement or medics. These are high-need, non-criminal situations requiring behavioral health coordination rather than enforcement. Through report building and consent-based engagement, we're able to collect accurate demographic needs and database outcomes, identify patterns in service utilization, and detect gaps in existing service delivery. Looking at the chart, well, before I go to that, well, no, looking at our chart on this particular one, demographic, when you look at the ages 30 through 49 is our largest population served. This demographic typically presents with complex and layered needs from behavioral and mental health, SUD, housing, economic instability. And again, when I look at this or when our team look at this, again, it's a multidisciplinary approach, understanding their layered needs. But then you look at our second high demographic, which is our seniors at the 65 plus. Their needs differ. Our responses differ. Their needs are more medical vulnerability, a lot dealing with isolation or depression, different anxieties. And our care coordination is geared differently opposed to someone 30 years old or 49 years old. Again, looking at our gender demographic, 51% of those we encountered are women. Again, a different type of need, be it areas of exploitation, child care needs, domestic violence. The point in all of this is like iHeart doesn't take a one size fit all approach. We really try to understand the individual need and respond accordingly. And what this data tells us is not just who we serving, but how we have to continue to evolve as a program to meet community needs. One thing I didn't mention, top corner, it says number of dispatches, 1,234. This morning, that number was 1,696. So since this report, our numbers have gone up. Program services. So our calls don't stop for us just at initial contact. We have follow-ups. Follow-up is where we feel that impact is most sustained. We do regular check-ins. We do wellness mapping when available. And then there's this ongoing engagement beyond the initial call. And again, the purpose of that, I've heard many times tonight, is just to continue to build community trust. We understand that, you know, the crisis doesn't end at that initial impact. You know, it takes strategy, it takes community, it takes, you know, resources. Another thing we want to prevent or work towards is to prevent the ongoing crisis calls from individuals and families. So again, beyond that initial impact or that initial contact, we hope to build rapport. We hope to be someone's next call opposed to, 911 when there isn't a medical or criminal emergency. Let's see. Case management. So for our case management, I'm gonna try to speed up a little bit. Case management provides soft case management embedded in our field response. Some of our core functions involve individualized success planning or wellness planning, address urgent and basic needs immediately, And then there's this warm handoff to other providers. We also employ now the ACT model, which not only supports individual in crisis, but also lends to supporting caregivers in the family system. And again, this is a multidisciplinary approach, deals with clients who have higher frequency need of engagement. And also there's a harm reduction approach. The goal for this, or the outcome we look for, is to move from crisis to stabilization to engagement. Linkage to service. Our primary mechanism for long-term change is our linkage to services. And over the last 10 months, we have 500 plus individuals and families linked to direct services, and another 600 individuals and families who have received barrier removal. Type of linkages involve behavioral health, mental health, navigation, housing, and medical benefits as well. For us, what linkage leads to is, how do we close the gap? How do we move from, that initial 911 call to community-based care? How do we go from crisis to continuity of care? I spoke a little of the soft case management. It's the wrong slides. Here's we have the longer slides I'll only speak to a couple more things.
Can you, I'm sorry, can you get to the slide where we're talking about the money?
Yes,
Okay.
we can do that.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. This is the slide that talks about money. So our annual budget right now is 1.7 million, 1.8 million, and our staffing model is the program lead, program manager, which is myself, 7 full-time workers, mental health specialists or behavioral health specialists, case manager, and administrative staff. I think that's it after that.
Yes, stay on that money slide.
Let's go back to the money slide.
Yep, good. Do you want to start, or do you want me to?
Take it.
Okay. Well, first of all, we received a spreadsheet of what funds that we have as of April 15th, 2026. And in the iHeart, we originally approved 1.5 million. And as of the 15th, you have 0 left. So I don't know, you have carryover funds. So unless that's, I don't know.
Yeah, we show $550,000 in carryover funds. So just to give you the money, so it sounds like we want the money. I'll give you the very condensed version of the money. We have 2 options in front of Measure P. With the 2 grants that we've indicated in the staff report, along with the money that we are requesting to carry over, that was suggested last year by the committee, we have 2 funding options. The existing program that we had last year, which is $1 amount, and then the new program with a new program lead. With the carryover money that we show on our side, with the grants, to keep it existing as it was this last year, we would need about $136,000 from Measure P. If we want to add the program lead position that would benefit the program, we'd need $275,000 from Measure P.
Where did you get the grants from? How much is the grants?
Yes, so the grants were the Burn CIT Crisis Intervention Program state grant for $831,377, and the second grant was the US DOJ Connect and Protect grant for just under $139,000.
And I'll just add, the Connect and Protect grant has already been, those funds have been expended. And the SCIP grant, the Burn SCIP grant, comes into play in the next fiscal year, so 26-27.
So out of last year's budget, there's $550,000 that carry on, that you want to carry on and
Yes.
keep. And if I do recall last year, when you guys came for the money, we did say that if it was money left over, that it would carry on, and we would not follow that procedure that we said that if money's left over after so many days, it goes back. So I am in support of that because that's what we said. I think we also said, or you also said that that was a one-time act and you would not come back to us asking us for any more money, but here we are. So I do support the carry-on, but I do not support the additional fund request. That's me.
So the 275 is going to give us additional services, right?
That's going to give you the program lead, yes.
The program lead?
Yes.
Yeah, may I? So right now, as iHeart is constructed, I'm the only administrator, or I'm the only program manager. So that means I'm covering everything from field to Measure P meetings, things on the weekends. With the lead would allow, one, for me to have more time, but for the program to run more efficiently, right? For our day-to-day operations, our lead will primarily be over that team and report back to me, and then we can make adjustments. Again, right now, that's me. From time the door is open to the time the door closed, I'm the only one in that position right now.
But we would still have you, the program manager, 7 full-time, a mental health rehab, case manager, and admin staff?
Yes.
That would still be all in place?
Yes.
Even if we stay with the model that we have in place now, it would still need 139, how much?
Just under 139,000, yes.
I have a note. I just want to have a observance. I appreciate what you all do. I've seen you in the community. I've seen you helping the community. I've seen you at all of the functions that I go to where it's community-based, and I do see iHeart there in their green. I have seen Mr. Williams at practically all of the events during the week, even on the weekends. And I just appreciate what you do and how you do for the community, because you make it a human nature thing, not by gender, not by race, but you look at people as in humanity and not as, genders or ages or ethnicities. You look at them as humanity, and I appreciate that. I've seen firsthand how you've come in, or how your team has come in, whether it's on the school side, whether it's in the park, come in and take those non-medical emergency calls and handle them, and not have the police have to come or the EMTs. And it allows the community, wherever you are in the city of Vallejo, to know that someone is working and they can call someone at any time regarding a non-medical issue when there's mental health, and not have to call the police department or an EMT. And I just appreciate you all for what you do and continue the service to the community.
Can I just add something? I'm sorry. I'm Sanjay Ramrock. I'm the Administrative Bureau Captain. 2 years ago, when I became captain, iHeart was just starting in April of 2024. And it was a rocky start, obviously. And it came from, the genesis of their program came from our police reform and the need for non-enforcement related, non-police related personnel to respond to people in crisis, people undergoing mental health issues, and being able to provide services and a non-enforcement way to handle those things. And in that time, in the 2 years, thanks to your funding from last year, they're an integral part of our operation. And when people call 911 and there's a crisis occurring, they ask for iHeart. And it's great to see. They do so much in regards to community engagement. They do co-response with not only the police department, but with fire and EMS. They stage when there's a enforcement-related activity, and they will stay on scene until the scene is safe, and they can engage in their efforts or whatever services need to be referred, and they work with Solano County Behavioral Health to address long-term issues. And so they are part and parcel of the police department, and clearly us being here asking for money is not ideal, but we ask you to reconsider the larger model of program lead. I think Rayvon works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That program lead position is necessary just to be able to expand iHeart operations and really give them a break. But also, they want to get to a place where they are able to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and always be available. They're not there yet. They've clearly had bumps, but in terms of their impact upon the community, I don't think that can be understated. Thank you.
No, and I'm in agreement. I think you guys do an amazing job, and you're out there in the community. The question is, I'm going to take, is it possible to get like all of these agenda items in a spreadsheet where we see how much we have, everybody's requesting to spend? So like I'm sitting here trying to do that. I use the presentations, but obviously I missed a few things. Because I'm trying to figure out, we have 7.2 million to spend, but then there's 8.5, it looks like, so far requested. But, or is there something there that I missed?
Through the chair. Hi, Melungo Conley, Assistant City Manager. So I have a spreadsheet. It's nothing that we provided to you tonight to keep track of all these things, but the total for the fiscal year 26-27 ask is about 10.3 million for all 20 items.
So that's the ask. That's the
Yes.
ask from today.
Yes, that's the ask for all the items that are on your current agenda.
Well, someone's not going to be happy.
And that was for FY '26, or?
For fiscal year 26-27, for the entirety of the fiscal year. Not saying that other things won't come back, but just in terms of budget, so we're anticipating a similar revenue stream for Measure P for next year. So around $17, $18 million. And so what you have at the end of this current fiscal year added to the projection for next fiscal year, if you were to approve all these items, you would end, and say nothing else came, you would end next year approximately with about $10.5 million. So it's about half of what we project you to have for the next fiscal year.
Thank you.
So in the budget, we have, sorry, I totally derailed your thing, but we can't start approving money until I understand what the money is. So we also have a whole $17 million of unused funds that were previously approved. And, some as old as over a year old.
Are you looking at the audit report?
No. I'm looking at the Measure P revenue expenditure tracking sheet that we have. It's a special report.
I think a lot of that, if I recall correctly, it's allotted and it's in the process of being, if you look in the last, I think in the comment section on that presentation, it then tells us what the money is left over for and what it's going to be used for. And it's not that it looks like it's there on the books, which it is, but it's already been accounted for in the, like, one of the bigger ones is the road repair, public works. So a lot of that money has been allocated and dedicated to be spent. It's just haven't.
Correct.
Yeah, like that one's 65 days old. I'm not concerned about that. So like one of them is potholes. You have 1.1 million in potholes unspent. So you have 500,000 for, I guess, the end of 26, and then you have another 600,000 up top that is way old. I can't find it. Let me get rid of that column.
So generally, we do a fund balance transfer for Measure P money because sales taxes doesn't hit our books in one day, right? So you generate sales tax over the entirety of the year. So what we do is we account for it. And then when we receive the revenues, like I actually just received an email that transfer is going to happen soon. So when we receive the sales tax revenue, then we make the fund transfer from Measure P to, to those actual expenditures. So it says here, so you've obligated about $17,391,766. You're right, that also doesn't include the, I believe it was 13.5 million that you approved sometime in March for streets, with 10.5 for street and pothole repair, and I think 3 million for Bay Trail, Vine Trail. I think that was appropriate. So that isn't on this list here. So with those brings you down to about 7.5 million.
So we have 7.5 million basically in the budget today to spend.
Yeah, for the 25-26 fiscal year.
Okay, so I'm trying to.
Which fiscal year?
The current fiscal
right,
year.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the current fiscal year.
So we have approximately 7 million to spend and 10.3 million on the agenda tonight as an ask.
For next fiscal year.
Right.
Yes. And there's probably some lingering expenses out there, so that number, don't hold me fast and true to that, but I believe they actually approved, there might be some other more recent expenditures approved by Measure P, so that 7 million might be a little off. But whatever you have will carry forward to the next fiscal year, obviously, and then you will accrue, the tax revenue over the 26-27 fiscal year.
And to be sure I've got it right, the 275 you're asking for now is for fiscal year 26-27.
Yes.
It's not current year funds, so it wouldn't come out of the 7.5.
All of these funds here are for 26-27, after July 1, not current fiscal year.
Okay, any more questions in regards to the iHeart resolution? Do we have any did we do public comments for this?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did?
Yes.
Okay.
Through the chair, there is currently no one in Zoom that has raised their hand to make a public comment.
Okay, and since this is two asking one, we can make a motion, two different separate motions?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can, because we've set the resolution up in such a way where we can check a box, depending on what you want to do, to try and make it easy instead of having to come back to you at a later meeting with an agenda or a resolution with your recommendation in it.
Okay, so can I get a motion to adopt a resolution recommending item 1, which is carry over all unspent Measure P funds allocated to iHeart program in fiscal year 25-26?
I move that we recommend that the city authorize the carryover of all unspent Measure P funds allocated to the iHeart program in fiscal year 2025-26 to fiscal year 26 and 27.
I second.
Thank you.
Can I ask another question about the 275?
Can we finish this?
When there's a motion on the floor, the questioning's
Yeah.
over, you have to vote first. Depending on what happens with the motion, then you can ask an additional question.
So we'll vote on that motion.
Chair Jones,
Yes.
Committee Member Briseño,
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch,
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies,
Yes.
Committee Member Santos.
Yes.
Motion to carry over all unspent Measure P funds passes with all approved.
Okay, so question about the gap, the 275. So I think everybody in this room and a lot of people outside of this room, again, love iHeart, and we probably need to bulk it up and think about it further. But why were we unable to get additional grants for the 275?
So the thing about, we have, I think we are, I don't want to get this wrong, I think we are into our 4th grant for iHeart, maybe our 5th. The thing about grants are used to create programs, to enhance programs. They're not used to sustain programs. So I will just speak plainly and say we have stretched out our grant dollars to the furthest extent we can at this point. So most grants will not allow you to just say, I want to continue to have this nice thing for my city, and give you a grant for it. So our grants, as indicated in the staff report, our grants, these are the final 2 grants that we were able to carry over to get us to that either 136,000 or 275,000 is what's left over.
Yeah, and as further background, we had 4 original grants to fund, seed the program, and bring it to origination. The Connect and Protect was actually the last grant that was left from that batch, which was in 2022, I believe. And then this SKIP grant, as the Deputy Chief said, right, the grants are meant to, for a specific thing, meant to either start a project or expand a project. And once you've done that, there's no continuation money from either the Department of Justice or the state of California to continue the project. What they want to do is they want to help you start it, and then they want it to, when it's successful and on its feet, for the entity or for the municipality to bring it into its general fund and fund it that way. And this SKIP grant, this Burn SKIP grant, is one we applied for last year, and is likely to be the last one.
So what's the plan for next year?
That's a very big, broad question. Again, as Chair Jones said, I heard you loud and clear. We did everything that you asked of us to expand that money and stretched it as far as we could. So we were basically asking for just shy of $1.8 million program, and asking for $275,000 to expand it. We're on a year-by-year planning basis on some of these programs that started out as pilot programs. But in terms of how that fits into the greater scheme, our goal here was just kind of sell you guys on how successful this program has been. And as we go through the future years and look at different things in the city's budget, then these are a discussion we'll have to have each time.
I mean, like everybody, I agree. iHeart is a great program, and to what you said, but Measure P is not funds is not to sustain programs as well as the grants. So and this is for a program lead, what happens if you don't get that program lead?
We'll just go back to we would need $136,000 to maintain iHeart as it has been this last year.
What happens if you don't get the 136 from Measure P?
Then we don't have enough money to keep iHeart.
Until when?
Until July 1st.
July 1st.
Fiscal year.
2026.
So this is it. So we're coming towards the end of our our contract. When the fiscal year ends, that's when the contract ends and we start the next budget cycle.
So the 550,000 that's being carried over, it's getting carried over to the 2026, 27 budget, right?
You guys authorized us to do that, so yes.
And so what you're saying is, with that $550,000, it ends no matter what in July?
No, there's not enough money to sustain the program as budgeted.
So they would have to make cuts.
For 136, for the 136, what would you lose?
Nothing. We would lose nothing from what we have this last year. It would be the same.
No, if you had to cut 136,000 out of your budget next year, what services would be?
Yeah, I don't know. That isn't something we've worked through. That would be a Felton question.
Basically, the 136 would be a whole person. We would lose a person.
If I recall correctly, the first year that you were in operation, whatever that dollar amount, whatever that staffing was, last year you increased the staffing.
We did not.
No?
No.
You just increased the dollar amount for the staff that you were having.
Yes. So we actually did bring on, I want to say 1.5 staff. My apologies. So we brought on a full-time position and a part-time position.
So the calls were 1,700 to date. Last year, for the year, how many did you have?
1,700 total.
Last year?
Last year.
The year before?
So this is the end of year 2, or we're in year 2. So year 1, total calls with co-response and everything was closer to 1,700 last year. This year, with the year still going, we're at 1,696 as of this morning. So we are at all of last year's numbers right now today, with 2 months and roughly 2-3 months to go.
Okay.
This one helps.
Any more questions, comments? All right, make a motion to approve the use of additional Measure P funds up to $275,000 for a consultant and professional service agreement with Felton Institute for the iHeart program in fiscal year 2026-2027. Can I get a motion?
I recommend we approve the use of any additional Measure P funds up to $275,000 for a consultant and professional services agreement with Felton Institute for the iHeart program in fiscal year 2026-2027.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Chair Jones?
No.
Committee Member Briseño?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Motion passes with 4 approved and 1 against. Our next item is going to be action item I. Adopt a resolution recommending, or in the alternative, not recommending, that the City Council authorize $120,000 of Measure P funding for ongoing computer equipment in fiscal year 26-27.
Hi, Chair. Hi, Commissioner. I'm Randy Heishover. I'm the IT Manager for Public Safety. And I want to speak to this one directly as a one-time ask to close a gap on...
I'm sorry. You know what? I would like to recommend people quit saying one-time acts, because I've heard this over the years, and that was a prime example with iHeart, saying we have a one-time act, and then they come back this year and ask. So make your acts without the one-time acts.
computers at PD. And as you know, we just went.
Excuse me, can you turn your mic on? It would be red.
Oh, I'm holding the button down. Sorry. So PD has over 250 computers. We just went through the Windows 10 to 11 update. 25 of the computers were not updated because we didn't have the money to complete that upgrade. 15 of those computers are expensive computers, and they go into the patrol cars. They're also 8+ years old. They're obsolete, they no longer are supported, they're hard to work with, screens are ugly, the touchpads are ugly and hard to work with. I asked for the money for 25-26, I didn't get it. I asked for it for the 26-27, I'm not getting it. I want to get it, and it's really just taking care of these 40 computers, which will cost me $90,000 for those 15 for the cars, and $70,000 for the others. We already have $40,000, so we're asking for $120,000. And I will close the gap on this Windows 11. All my computers will be healthy at PD, and now I'm working with the finance on the future roadmap to keep all computers at PD healthy going forward.
How long have you had the ones you have now?
Sorry?
How long have you had the ones you have now? What's the life?
For the 15 and the 10?
Yes.
For the 40? The patrol cars are 8+ years old. The other ones are not upgradable to 11 because they're in this 5+ year age, and you can't upgrade them. So they're sitting in a risk when it comes to security patches. It's just not a good practice.
Right. So your one-time ask could possibly
It is a one-time ask.
could possibly last for 5 to 8 years. That's a
I
good
want to
one.
get that one out of the way, and then I'm going to work with finance on the other ones and not come to you unless, like Bob said, every year kind of has a different approach to how we get our things done. But yeah, this is an important part of keeping the safety of the public when our police officers are using computers that are not functioning well.
Absolutely.
And I want to take care of them.
Absolutely.
And I want to take care of the community because it's inefficient.
Thank you. Any public comments? We got one.
It was hard to follow the agenda because on the left side it had all these letters, and then on the actual agenda it had different letters. So I'm hoping that in the next meeting that all of that will be taken care of. And as I'm sure the committee knows, maintain critical city services, maintain fire protection, maintain emergency medical response, maintain crime prevention, address homelessness, address blight, address dumping, repair deteriorating neighborhood streets, use priorities and services. I failed to see the word computer. My young friend here admitted that they've known about this for 8 years. What did they do before Measure P committee was formed 3 years ago? What did they do before then? Why didn't they realize the future or think of the future or have a vision of the future that, man, what are we going to do in 8 years? What are we going to do in 5 years? And I just have to, it's an important subject, as you can tell, within me. I don't see the time, so you let me know. Trust within the community and not just giving a wish list or being an ATM will build trust with the community. They won't believe that hopefully the community, the citizens won't believe that you'll just accept anything that may not fall under the 9 criteria that the citizens voted for. I mean, your creative English language can be used in creative words to be close to, but not really. They've known about this for 8 years. What did they do? Why didn't they figure this out before the Measure P Measure P tax came up? Don't feel pressured that you have to. They've been doing it for 8 years. They can do it for another couple of years. I would, with all due respect, I would recommend that this go in front of the city council and let them have the burden of making that decision. Maintain the political will and stay within the trust of the citizens of Vallejo, and help us fix all these 9 items that the citizens voted for. Like I said, I did not vote for it, but the other citizens voted for it. Thank you.
Are there any Zoom?
Through the chair, there are no speakers on Zoom that wish to make public comment.
Any comments or
Yeah,
questions?
I have a question to ask, because working prior for the state of California and in the IT department with some things, there's a life cycle replacement plan we gotta have. It's crucial for everything. So part of that, I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I can see the one time because whatever, but I would like to see a life cycle replacement plan for the equipment coming forward, so that we have a plan and we see it documented that there is a plan to replace these when they go bad. Not, we're gonna wait and, God, we didn't get the money, hopefully we can get it, and type back and forth.
Totally agree.
That doesn't help infrastructure for the city at all.
Yeah, I've been here 2 years, and that's the first thing I started working on. I've presented my 5-year strategic replacement plan. Finance has it, everybody has it now. There's a lot of areas that have that same kind of strategy I put in play, so I'm looking for that to be our game plan going forward. This is me finding out what has been left over that hasn't been taken care of. But I totally am on board with that approach, and if you need copies of that, I got it.
I would hope that could be provided to us in the future. Thank you.
Good evening, chairs. That 5-year plan is already in the staff report. I don't know if you looked at it or not, but it is provided in the staff report.
Are there funds for that 5-year plan?
There are no funds as of right now, but yes.
It will not be a one-time ask.
So maybe I could speak to that a little bit. There's a lot of deferred maintenance in this city, right? For equipment, supplies, services. So one of the reasons why Measure P was brought forward was precisely to address some of that need. Not all of it, but some of it, which is why there are 9 priority funding areas under Measure P. Not 1, not 2, but 9. To address that. Primarily all money within the city, other than grant funds, are public funds. This isn't anything special carved out from general fund in the sense that it's all taxpayer money, right? So we're all stewards of the public trust and of the public money. So the asks that you hear today, they are, we say one time. We really mean fiscal year, 26, 27 fiscal year ask. Because you know what? You may get them again. And some of these asks might be for multi-year funding, precisely for that reason, because they've gone before city council and they've been denied because prior to, they didn't actually prioritize funding this and they didn't have the funds for it. So, I mean, it's not that you have to recommend, right? But it's not that these are just frivolous asks brought before you to consider. It's that we looked at the priority funding buckets, and these were the things, as we were going through the entirety of trying to set up our budget, that we thought that we should bring before Measure P for consideration.
So question, is there an asset management plan in place for all of Vallejo? For whatever's under the city umbrella? No?
No, so we don't have one for property. We kind of have one for vehicles. As you mentioned, we have some in development for computer and software equipment. I mean, you'll hear that ask later on too from the IT department. We are utilizing outdated equipment, but I think as we start to replace, we do track, right? So we do depreciate things. But I think, unfortunately, there were a lot of departments that were just told that there's no funding, so make do. So they've been patching a lot of things, right? So, you will hear things that you might have funded last year, and they're coming with another ask, and they may come again with another ask, but that's because they might not have received funding over the last 10 years. So the city is working on a plan, and hopefully you tune into the budget conversation next Tuesday, hoping it won't start too late, but to have these conversations about how we create a more solid foundation for our city going forward, because we have very limited funds, to utilize to provide, the support for these asks.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking about the asset management, because if you have all of the assets for all of the departments under one area, you can forecast out, his 40 computers are going to be dead in 6 years, right? So you know where to focus out all of those funds. And I mean, everything should roll up into there, right?
Yeah.
All of your vehicles, all of your light bulbs, everything. And then that way you can track what you're going to need.
So the city did, and this was prior to my coming, I believe over the last 2 years, do a ERP system, and I believe that asset tracking is one of those modules. But it's a fairly new thing for the city to have it computerized in order to run reports and actually get that information. As you know, if you work for any public agency, most of it is done on Excel spreadsheets by hand, manually.
Everywhere, yeah.
Right, so
You do have software that does that?
I believe that our FE system has a module. Lance. Looking at my interim IT director. Sorry, I know.
Bedtime.
Round one.
We're currently implementing a new system, enterprise asset management system. We're first starting with Public Works, working with divisions in Public Works, but we'll carry on to other departments shortly after. But it is a new software that we're currently just implementing this year.
And you guys have a roadmap on how that is going to look when you roll it out, and a plan of how that's going to roll out?
Can you turn your mic on? Sorry.
My bad, I thought it was on. I'm just loud. So you have a roadmap and a plan of how that's going to roll out and look going department to department?
That's the plan, yes.
And it's going to track end of life, new, when licenses expire, all of that in there?
We're trying to gather as much assets into the system as we can, but it's definitely a project that we're working on. There's definitely some time that will be needed to import all that data into the system.
Is there training, an ongoing training for the departments and the people that actually didn't do the work? So that way they can actually roll into doing all of that?
Absolutely. I mean, our first department is Public Works, and we'll be working with our Fleet Department next. We'll be working with our PD Department and other departments after. IT will be as well on the roadmap with our assets. But currently, we are just using Excel documents.
Yeah, everybody does. I love Excel.
Can I get a motion recommending that the City Council authorize $120,000 of Measure P funding for funding ongoing computer equipment in fiscal year 2026-2027?
I motion it.
I second.
Thank you. Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseño?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Motion passes with all approved.
You're welcome.
Our next item is going to be action item number E, adopt a resolution recommending, or in the alternative, not recommending, that the City Council authorize $120,000 of Measure P funding for funding pre-employment background investigation services in fiscal year '27.
Yes, I'm back. Again, this is. I see what, Chair Jones, I see what's happening with the microphone button. It is defective. The PD is historically allocated, funded $50,000 a year for background investigations. And as you know, we're in a severe staffing crunch. We are authorized 127 positions. We are at 79, I believe. We're well over 40% vacancy there. This last year, we've gone through probably approximately 1,000 applications. Roughly 10% of those make it to background. Of those 10% that make it to background, less than 27% make it past the background stage into being a viable hiring candidate. That's just for sworn officers. This full background investigation is also used for all our employees, dispatchers, civilian staff. Anyone who walks in the door gets a full complement, a full PD background. It's extensive. It roughly takes 4 to 8 weeks, depending in some cases. In the past, we've used salary savings to supplement our $50,000 gap. Also, historically, we spend roughly $150,000 a year on backgrounds, and that's been the case for the last several years, if not more. So until again, this is not an ongoing cost in terms of hiring, but when we get to a proper staffing number, that obviously the background costs will drop, and hopefully we get there in some short fashion, although that may not happen either. So in the meantime, the $120,000 in addition to the $50,000 that we're being allocated for 26-27 will get us through 1 year of background investigations.
So the HR department, don't they have a budget that you're hiring one person, it's X amount of dollars in order to hire that person? Meaning, whoever interviews them, all the additional costs, background, all of this, is that not there?
So as mentioned, we do have a set budgeted amount, but we are also committed, HR is committed to running a lot more names through that process to try to staff up the police department. So the problem is that because they are so low with staffing, right, those background checks are a lot more than the ones that we routinely do, like for other departments, right, which is live scan and reference checks and some other components. That takes maybe a couple of days. This is a potentially 2-month process. Those background checks are a lot more expensive. So if we only do the background checks for the exact number of potential vacancies, we may not get any viable hires. So we have to do them on a really expansive number of individuals. So yes, we do have budget, as mentioned, but we are trying to, as I said, ramp up the hiring. And in addition, we've had a number of vacancies that were unplanned. And so the HR department doesn't necessarily plan to, replace this number of people. So it's just an unusual time for the city of Vallejo. These are things we're going to be discussing in budget next week and ongoing. But yes, we probably will have to make some changes to sort of baseline in this particular case to just, figure out what we're going to do over the next several years, because it's not like we're going to be able to fund, 20, 30 officers in one fell swoop. So this will probably be a continuing need, not that it may come back to Measure P, but this is what they're asking for the next fiscal year.
Right, so then when we should have had, what, 130? I don't know how many officers, right? So there was a budget there that was spent on whatever, right? So now that that is spent and now you're doing this ramp up, there should not be a gap. There shouldn't be any.
So one of the things that we've been doing over the last couple of months is you don't balance your budget necessarily off of salary savings. And that is how the city has been doing their budgets for years. So the problem is that they had reduced staffing, but we still budgeted for an amount that we actually couldn't afford. And at a certain point, there was a gap between what we were spending and what we had allocated, that we had some savings, and so we could move that money around. But we've been hiring throughout the city, and so our vacancies have been declining, but we still are budgeting for an amount of staffing that we can't afford. So we were told, directed by City Council, to essentially not hire, this doesn't apply to PD, but not hire for general fund positions, and then also reduce the amount of salary savings that departments had to help us close the gap. So there isn't that savings that they normally could dip into. And PD has also implemented a number of special initiatives over the last year, dealing with sex trafficking, dealing with domestic violence, dealing with, other issues that we have around the city, but they've not had an increase in staffing. They've had to use overtime hours. So that also eats away at that salary savings that they have. So we're still dealing with a limited pot of funds. So this is their ask just to help out for the next fiscal year for those background checks.
Yeah, the lack of staffing has contributed to a great deal of overtime, patrol overtime specifically, and just as a point, our average cost for a police background or a police employee background is about $2,200 between the firms that we use. That's the average.
Good evening, Stephanie Cifuentes, HR Director. So hopefully I can help to clarify. So this particular ask is budgeted through PD. It's not budgeted through HR. HR does have a budget for all of our citywide background processes. This particular budget is with the police department because they're very specific to public safety hiring. And I think, yes, they had budgeted for if they were going to fill all of those positions. But I think one of the things that's happened is because we're trying to staff up all of those positions and because we're trying to get ahead, we have allowed additional people to go through the background process because they fall out later on in the process. And so in order to expedite and not be caught far behind, we push more people through the background process than the seats that we have so that it'll be more efficient and more expeditious. And so they're burning through those background funds a little more quickly, even though they had budgeted for that specific amount. We're putting more people through that process than the vacancies that we have because people fall out in various steps after that, if that is helpful. That makes sense.
So for your ask is 120, but you mentioned 150. So that's approximately 78 background checks. So how many, this is for fiscal year 26, 27. 25, 26, how many background checks? Do you have that number that was done?
I believe we did 96.
Oh. Okay.
That's it. You got it.
Okay. All right. I was just trying to figure out, are you really going to do 68 background checks? That was the average number I came up with. But if you did 96 last year and we're trying to ramp up the guesses that you would be doing around that amount, hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, we churned through a lot of applicants in order to get people in the door.
How many people did you hire last year for those 96?
That's a good question. I'm going to turn to I'm going to ask.
I know I wasn't here. I think it was about a dozen, but about a net of 4. That makes sense with people leaving. Yeah.
Transfers, so overall the net hire was 4.
How many did you hire? How many did that cover that you actually hired?
Yeah, that was the number. So it's about 27% of 96. So that's what we're trying to convey is you have to put that many people through the background. The ones who actually are successful in being hired, the number, the percentage is, the point we're trying to make is it's pretty, you have to put a lot of people through background to get some qualified applicants.
Yeah, and most of those hires we have to put into the police academy. And that is a 6-month process and then another 6-month process to go through the field training program. And so we do lose quite a few people either in the academy or in the field training program. So our net, yeah, probably 4 or 5 sounds right.
How many officers do we have right now?
What'd you say?
How many officers do we have right now?
We have 80 officers. So we have budgeted for 114. We have 80, so it's 34 that we're trying to hire for. Then we have 7 in the police academy, so that would count towards that number as well if they are successful in completing the academy and completing field training.
Where did the funding come from last year for background checks?
That money came from through salary savings.
That we no longer have. All right. Any more questions or comments? Did we do public comments on this? Okay. Public comments? Joey, just sit right down front, okay?
Jose Carizales, it should, first of all, I just want to emphasize that you're going to hear the term deferred maintenance almost at every meeting. It is not the fault of this committee that there is so much deferred maintenance. Please don't let that influence the decision-making process that you have when you decide upon spending tax dollars, public money. Deferred maintenance is the fault of previous administrations, that inadequacies, incompetencies, and we shouldn't feel pressured. Oh man, we got 10 years of we got 8 years of deferred maintenance, and now you better do it. So I would hope that this committee recognized that point. We've got to stay true. Oh, thank you for the time. Got to stay true to the 9, because this is what the citizens of Vallejo voted for. This is what they trust you to stay within the 9 criteria. It should be noted that in the staff report, this resolution report, and the project summary, none of those refer to any of the 9. They don't include that it affects or is part of it. I understand the dilemma that this police force is in, but it's not the citizens, it's not our making, it's theirs. Their behavior was well documented. So now they want to make up and force the Measure P committee to fill the gap. I simply renew from when I first started speaking Political will is important. Trust is important. Stay within the 9. And I got to be careful what I say. And stay within the 9 so that you can help the citizens of Vallejo believe in you, in your work. They'll believe in your work. They'll support what you do and who you are. That is very critical in this day and age of. And as far as the grants, my last 10 seconds, I would encourage to read the Vallejo Sun and kind of a detailed how they administered, how the Vallejo Police Department administered grants. So if you haven't had that opportunity, please review that article. Thank you.
Okay. Are there anyone on Zoom?
Through the chair, there are no members of Zoom that would like to make public comment.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any comments or questions? If not, can I get a motion to recommend that the City Council authorize, okay, let me back up. So, as difficult as some of these asks are, and I do understand the gray in that line of, is it part of the 9 areas for Measure P? And I think that if this is a part of that process of getting policemen, then that is a part of the safety for our city. Although, I would hope that moving forward, and I being hopeful that our city is on a different trajectory than we were in the past, then I am believing that with the city council, the city manager, and the new leadership that we have with staff and within the departments, and the recommendations from this commission, that moving forward, that this won't be a continual act, that it'll be a better position for our city. So for me, with that being said, I would like to get a motion to recommend that the City Council authorize $120,000 of Measure P funds for funding pre-employment background investigation service for fiscal year 2026-2027.
I adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council authorize $120,000 of Measure P funding for funding pre-employment background investigation services in fiscal year 2026 and 2027.
Thank you. Chair Jones?
Yes.
We're in voting, correct?
I thought, was that the second? Did we do a second?
That was the first. We need a
We
second.
need
Oh,
I'm like,
Second?
did I fall asleep?
No, you did.
No, we need a second.
Okay, did we get a second just now?
Yes.
Okay,
Chair Jones?
yes.
Committee Member Briseño?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Thank you. Item passes with all approved. Our next action item is item number K, adopt a resolution recommending, or in the alternative, not recommending, that the City Council authorize $400,000 of Measure P funding for homelessness costs in fiscal year 26-27.
Thank you. So here I am again. I'm going to present this item on behalf of Natalie Peterson, who is our homeless manager. We do have a presentation. I know time-wise we're kind of short on time. I'm happy to run through it, or I could just speak to the financial ask. Would that be easier, just drilling it down to the 400,000, and or do you want me to run through the presentation? Do you have a preference?
How many?
I mean, if the act explains it and you can give a clear identifying.
Does it? That's not very clear. Can you see that? Does that help? That's the breakdown of the 400,000. So I can just walk through the ask here. So
If it identifies your acts, go
yes.
right ahead.
Okay, so the $400,000 is broken down into a number of sort of funding buckets here. Capsolano JPA is the primary vehicle by which we provide homelessness services. So it is a joint powers authority that we have. Our continuum of care is operated through that framework. So those are the organizations that have access to the HMIS system that sort of documents, that holds all the documentation for our unhoused residents that allows them to then be eligible for services, either at a navigation center or some permanent supportive housing. So with our agreement with Capsolano JPA, there's money that we as a city pay into in order to receive those services. So it's split into two. It's the MOU and then the staffing of the MOU. So as you see there, that's approximately $200,000, $82,000 for participation as a city, and then our portion for staffing of the continuum of care. So the services that are offered through that agreement. Then this last winter, we opened up our first warming shelter. It took us a while to sort of identify a place, and it ended up actually being the navigation center. And so they opened their doors in January, and they went through March. This ask, the $94,000, is actually opening up before winter, so it would staff that and pay for services from November through March, which is the entirety of the winter season. Previously, we opened up the Vallejo room, and it was staffed by city staff, overtime, and volunteers, but it was only based on our extreme weather policy, which meant, temperatures, I believe, had to be below 34 degrees or be over 34 degrees and or rain, I believe, like 3 or 4 days consecutively. It's rare, it gets that cold, but it's rarely that cold that often. And so we wanted to adopt a more humane model, which is what Fairfield does, was they just simply open the shelter from one date to the next, and it's open every single night, regardless of weather condition. And so we worked with Five Keys, who's the operator at the Navigation Center, and they were open to repeating those services for this next fiscal year. So this is the cost of actually opening up and providing those warming shelter services 7 days a week, regardless of the actual weather. People believe they can come in at 6, and then I think the doors close at 10, and they can stay overnight, and they have to leave, I believe, by 7 a.m., and that's going from November through the end of March. So that's that cost. And then the license and staff costs and supplies, the $101,000 is approximately increasing the HMIS licenses to allow for other community-based organizations that do provide additional services to unhoused residents outside of the continuum of care, but they have regular contact, and so we would provide them access to that system so that when they go out and they engage, they can actually put them in the system so that they can be further along in the process to actually get to either temporary or permanent supportive housing. So it's just another tool that we would provide to organizations to allow them to do that work. And then we have been absorbing the costs with Public Works, other city staff in terms of doing some of the encampment cleanups and enforcement. And so this would help supplement that because we actually are reducing a lot of staff time. And so this would allow us to fund that since it's specifically for homelessness, which is actually one of the buckets. That is estimated, I have the breakdown in the staff report, sorry, for that, and then just supplies associated with the actual cleanups, which is sometimes getting dumpsters from Recology, sometimes renting equipment, sometimes we support cleanups on the railroad tracks. It requires us to get specialty equipment that runs along the rails. So there's a lot involved there, and that's what's covered in that cost. So the sum total is $400,000. Yes.
Do we have any numbers for the data for the winter warming centers as far as how many people took in November, December, January, February, March?
So we actually didn't open until January, and we opened, I believe it was definitely towards the end of January. I believe it was January 20th. And I know at least for the month of February, we were running somewhere around, I believe, between 15 and 18, actually, 15 to 18 people per night. Some of those people would come in, and then I believe one or two might not have stayed for when doors closed, and so, you know, they don't have an open door policy. So once doors close, people are not allowed to you can leave, but you just can't come back in. So it averaged, you know, 15 to 18 folks for the time that it was open, which was from, I believe, January 20th through March. How many days in March? March 30th? 31. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question goes to, so we had originally allocated money pre-you, if there could have been a time, but before you had come, for warming shelters, and then the city council authorized reallocation of that money in a 25-26 budget. So they took the money away from that warming.
Yes, we actually had money from participatory budgeting, $70,000. And so that limited the number of days that we could operate, especially when we went to the model of simply being open regardless of weather conditions. So, you know, that was enough. If, I believe prior, when the city just ran it through the Vallejo room, they might have opened 5 times during the winter. Based on the conditions, right? So it'd have to rain 3 consecutive times in a row, temperature thresholds had to be reached, and because of that, they didn't open that often. But when we wanted to cost out, going to a model where we were open every day, regardless of weather conditions, from a start time to an end date, we went through the majority of those funds. We also used, I believe we had, maybe it's telling me something. We had about $7,000 left, and we actually agreed to pay Soul Trans to provide free rides to and from the warming shelter for the time that they were open. So that was an agreement, and we agreed to pay them, I believe, $6,500 for that service.
So how much this service that Soul Trans actually provide, though? Was it used?
So that I don't have how many people took the ride up to the warming shelter. I mean, one of the reasons why we just agreed on an average rate is because they weren't going to be able to track. So as long as any individual who identified that they were going to the warming shelter could essentially ride for free. And we did a estimate of what that would cost, and we agreed on that as a reasonable amount.
Well, when it comes, again, I think that, and I am an advocate for the unhoused, but out of all of the areas, I do not see that the city was really helpful to the community in the encampments. Doing sweeps was not a help. It caused more harm. And so, as far as the winter warming center being at the navigation center, there was no, it's not like those beds was there. The staff was there. So the $75,000, I think I read that came from the participatory budget.
Yes.
Then what was actually needed or spent if we already have staff at the navigation center? And this was, I think the RFP came out at a different location. I think that's what the amount was, $75,000. Was it?
70.
70?
Well, we did actually put out an RFP for the warming shelter, and we did not receive any responsive proposals. We received one, but it wasn't responsive. And to your question, we actually found additional capacity at the warming shelter. So this did not impact the 125 beds that they currently have. We actually utilized a common room. So we worked pretty quickly over December to work with our fire marshal to identify how we could lay out and use that location to provide additional beds. So we actually added capacity to the navigation center for this temporary use because they indicated that rec room was not in use at nighttime. So they were willing to open it up to beds that could then be stacked up so that the regular residents of the navigation center could then use that space during the day, which is why you had a 6 p.m. to a 7 a.m. timeline, and then at 7 a.m., you know, the folks who came to the warming shelter would have to exit.
So did you have to bring in staff?
So they actually indicated that they had the capacity because generally at nighttime, things are very calm and quiet, and this was essentially, you know, space for folks to sleep outside of the you know, inclement weather. So they didn't anticipate having to add on any additional staff because it was determined that they had enough coverage.
So what are you providing them at night? You shelter, a bunk, some
Yes, shelter, blankets, they are snacks, they can have.
hygiene packets, toothbrush?
Yep, eligible for the bathroom, you know, and then they also get services. So like part of going there is being entered into the HMIS system if they so choose. So they can meet with folks, they can talk to them, try to get document ready. So it's a way of trying to get the leg up, and we're trying to take advantage when folks are there to see if we can get them in the system, to see if we can get them other supports. And so for the agencies that are there, that do come, you know, they can leave contact information, so they just get exposure to other resources.
Do they get breakfast on their way out?
They, you know, I know that there was a carve out for food. I don't know if they get a full breakfast, but I knew that there are snacks and water and other things provided, especially when they come in the evening time.
But if I recall correctly, most of that stuff was, I mean, most of the things they were given was all donated. It was nothing that anyone had to go out to do a purchase for.
Not at the navigation center. Now, we have a number of CBOs that go to encampments and they provide donations, but this is a shelter that's run by 5 Keys, so they purchase a lot of their supplies that they provide to the residents who are there. So the things that are provided, part of the money that we gave them was for the purchase of beds and cots and blankets and care packets.
But I think they still put a call out for donations, if I recall correctly. So I don't know how much of whatever the funding was spent on actual those items, but I do know items were donated, and I mean, from food to blankets to the care packages, some of that stuff was donated. Again, I don't know.
Are you saying that 5 Keys was asking for donations?
There was a call for donations. Yeah. And so, again, I'm not saying they did not purchase some things, but I do know that there were calls for donations. Even before the warming center, there was call for donations. I don't know. I just don't have, as hopeful as I am with areas as a city working on, this is the area that I have very little faith in the city regarding. And it's mainly because of my daily interaction with either people in the encampment or people that are interacting on a daily basis with them, that the city isn't a supporter.
So I think there's a couple things here that probably require, obviously, a lot of conversation, right? The city doesn't have a Health and Human Services department. So the city doesn't actually provide direct services to unhoused residents. Those services are provided through the continuum of care through the county. And so we contract, with an agency to come here and provide those kind of services, right? And there's a number of them. And there's the county health department. They can come and provide behavioral health support. There's a number of agencies that do come here, and they have ongoing, regular contact and relationships with the unhoused population. That is actually not something that the city is currently set up to do. So what city staff does is at the direction of city council, which is essentially to target key priority areas that the council has indicated that should be free and clear of encampments. So City Hall around here is one particular area. So council members have indicated that they don't want encampments here at City Hall. They've been very clear that because this is City Hall, business center, downtown, and we are trying to attract businesses, that's not a look that they feel actually is supportive of bringing in investments to the city. And there's other areas throughout the city that they have asked staff to enforce. And so, I understand the city lacks funds for a lot of things that we would like to see happen. And this current administration, if you can imagine, is not providing, not only are they not providing any funds for permanent supportive housing, but they are reducing whatever limited funds existed prior. So, outside of this ask, I think that the conversation centers around the fact that this city right now cannot afford to provide housing to all of the unhoused residents. You saw, before I did, how much Broadway cost, right? And even the grants and the funding that was utilized to support that effort no longer exists. So things like emergency housing vouchers, done. They're gone, I think, as of June. And we know that the permanent supportive housing vouchers, they now have work and volunteer requirements, which is, arbitrary barriers, so that people will probably lose their benefits if they can't show that they've participated in the way that this current administration is requiring them to do so. So, I know that there are a lot of folks who are not happy with and are angry with how the city is approaching homelessness, and I think that that's a conversation for the city council to have in terms of how they want to direct staff. But for what we've been directed to do, for the resources that we have, for the resources that we're asking for, this is right now within our capacity. And, I agree, it's not adequate, it's not good to have people sleeping on the streets. But, outside of some other direction, this is what we have as a program.
So if you don't receive these funds, what would happen?
So because we participate in the JPA and we do want to have access to those services, City Council will simply have to potentially make the decision to either take it from fund balance, which is our reserves for general fund, cut another program if they don't want to do that, or not participate.
How much is in reserve fund balance?
So, what do we have in reserve? 37 fund balance, our general fund balance reserve. 37 million, something like that. I think it's around 37 million. And the thing is that we're required to, well, not required. It's suggested that we keep a minimum level, right? It's about 18% of our overall budget as fund balance, to essentially cover, I believe it's 2 months of operations for the city. And we're getting very near that threshold. So there isn't really much room, not to say that this decision is yours, but this is the decisions that we are facing right now when we talk about a budget, when we talk about a structural deficit, is that we don't really have a lot of room in our budget. So things that we choose to fund or not fund, whether it's Measure P or not, I mean, I'm just talking like general fund expenses, they will have to make the decision to fund certain programs or not fund certain programs, or fund them at a less rate, I guess, going forward.
So if we say no, then it's up to them to fund it from their general reserves.
Well, yes and no. Measure P is a recommending body, so you can recommend or choose not to recommend the use of Measure P funds. City Council ultimately has the decision-making to use Measure P funds or to use general funds, or if there's any other funding available, use those funds as well. So they have the option to either accept your recommendation, provide different direction, to either use Measure P funds, use general fund, or if there's some other option, use that as well.
Any public comment? Oh, no, oh, no.
Unfortunately, this is a discussion that requires more than 3 minutes. First of all, I want to address the word unhappy and the words unhappy and angry. Would you be unhappy and angry if a bulldozer showed up at 9 o'clock in the morning, put in your bucket, in their bucket, your bicycles, your tools, your tent, your personal belongings, your clothing, your documents that you need to move forward? Would you be unhappy or would you be angry? The idea of additionally, 5 Keys should be here and giving you a presentation of the actual costs of what they incurred. I heard maybe there was a minimum of 3 people a night, to give a number of maybe 15, 16 average is probably incorrect, more than likely. The most I heard was 7 people. That's why it's important to hear from them instead of hearing from us. My perspective is from going out there and talking to the unsheltered population. Assistant to the city manager's perspective is hearing from staff. Staff is not high on my list. The donation, Jackie Jones is correct on the donations. They did ask for that. The HMIS system, unless you have a clear idea what the HMIS system, some of my unsheltered friends may already be in the system. Some may not be in the system. So that's kind of a gray area. I have intimate knowledge of the JPA process. I'm co-chair of this coordinated interest system for 3 years. I'm secretary for the TAB, Tripartite Advisory Board. So I have direct and intimate knowledge of the MOU. I would suggest that you separate the money. It went from $40,000 to give the 5 Keys. Now it's went up to $94,000. I have volunteered my time at the Warman Center for 3 years. It's only been 3 days, not 5 days, as was stated. Only one night, if I remember, in the 3 years, up to 25 people participated in the Vallejo room. Jackie Jones went to one last year in February. It was 3 nights. The first night, there was no heat. All of a sudden, the heat came on the next 2 nights. The investment continues. This investment continues the city commitment to the unhoused population of Vallejo. That is the most offensive, disgusting statement that I have heard coming from the city of Vallejo staff in my 12 years of doing business, of being a strong, passionate, truthful advocate for my unsheltered friends. Annie. Thank you.
Thank you. Any Zoom caller?
Through the chair, currently do not have any members of the public with their hands raised at this time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt a resolution not recommending that the City Council authorize $400,000 of Measure P funding for homelessness costs in fiscal year 26-27?
I motion.
Second.
Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseno?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
A motion passes to not recommend the $400,000 for homelessness unanimously. Our next item is item M, adopt a resolution recommending or in the alternative not recommending that the City Council authorize a one-time funding in the amount of $168,200 for recruitment services for city manager and director positions for fiscal year 27.
Do we have any questions in regards to this next item? I'm trying to see, do we even need a presentation, or we can just vote?
We should ask for public comment if we're going to skip the presentation.
Public, Joey left. Do we have any public comment?
Through the chair, currently no speakers at this time.
Can I get a motion to adopt a resolution not recommending that the City Council authorize a one-time funding in the amount of $168,200 for recruitment services for city manager and director position for fiscal year 26-27?
I motion that.
I second.
Committee Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseno?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Motion passes to not recommend the recruitment services for city manager and director positions unanimously. Our next item is item Q, adopt a resolution of the Measure P Oversight Committee to recommend or in the alternative not recommend funding for the 2026 FEMA Safer Grant match March 2026 through March 2029 for a total of $2,620,475.92.
Good evening, Chair Jones and Commissioners. Jim Rustis, the interim fire chief. I thought I was going at the end, so I only have one slide. All my presentations, one slide, so we'll get this going. And that's it right there. We received the SAFER grant for 6 additional firefighters. And we are asking Measure P for the matching funds for the life of the grant. The grant is a 3-year grant. We have 6 additional firefighters. We're asking for 2.6 in matching funds that the city is responsible to cover. Any questions?
So is this money for salaries for people?
Yes. It's for
Can you please turn your microphone on? Sorry. It'll glow red when it's on.
Yeah. I didn't touch it. This is the matching funds to the grant for the FEMA.
So this is matching funds. This doesn't directly pay for the salary. This is the city's portion of those grant funds.
But what are
So
the
there's
grants
no
funds?
long-term obligation to Measure P beyond these 3 years. There's no pension costs. There's no OPEB costs, so
But what's this grant money for?
it's for staffing, but it's not a salary cost, is what I'm saying. They're actually separate. So when you talk about salary, you talk about benefits, you talk about long-term liabilities for the city. This is a 3-year fiscal ask, but beyond that, say 28, 29, there's no obligation to Measure P, versus say if this was paying for my salary, you'd have ongoing costs in perpetuity.
Would there be staff for the Vallejo Fire Department?
Yes.
So it's not a contract. It's actually people that are,
It's a grant match, yes. That funds the firefighters, but it's not salary. So I think that distinction is important because salary has an ongoing liability for the city. It's like funding a consultant, right? That's a service, but not a salary.
so will these people be,
So at the end of the 3 years, if there's no additional funding identified, technically they would drop off the rolls. As any grant fund that you fund for a period of time, and when the funding goes away, the services would go away, unless we find alternatives.
so long-term benefits wouldn't apply to any of these people?
No. Well, where their employment is conditional under this grant.
And to give the bigger picture, we're coming into the next 3 to 5 years. We have about, I think there's probably 7 or 8 this year that are going to retire. We're trying to get ahead of attrition. So we're going to have probably 7 or 8 retired this year. And then the next 3 to 5 years, you could have up to 5 every year because we went through when I got hired in 2000, we hired about 40 people, and all of those people are coming to that time to where they're going to retire, and we're trying to get ahead of the retirement so we're not short bodies.
So as I understand, one of the goals then is at the end of this grant period, these staff would replace we wouldn't lose people for Vallejo Fire. We would still have staff. They just now would be a full city employee and not grant funded.
Correct. And with this grant, I looked today at the projection of the retirements at the end of the year, and these 6 would probably be absorbed into the department at the end of the grant period. Later on in this packet, I'm coming back because we want to do a second academy. It doesn't like me. But yeah, we're trying to get ahead of the retirements. That way we can keep full staffed engines, and it will help reduce our overtime.
Why is year 28, 29, 1.4 million versus 500,000, 700,000?
It's a scaled effect. The first year they pay more, and then the middle year we pay a little more, and at the end of it, it's more on us. It's front loaded to where we get more money from the federal government for the first 2 years, and then I think the second year is about half.
So the 2.6 million that the grant offers, how many firefighters do that?
6.
And that's for how long?
That would be from March of this year. We just had an academy turnout, and we were able to put 5 of those firefighters on the grant, and then it will go all the way through till March of 2029.
So if you already have the grant that's going to be from 2026 to 2029, then why do we need a match?
Because that's part of that's part of how FEMA works. Unfortunately, they don't give us all the money, we have to have a little skin in the game, and I think was it 25, 50, 75? That's the percentages that, we have to pay to get the money from the federal government.
Oh,
So 6 people cost 5.2 million?
Full cost.
5.2 million for 3 years. I want that job.
It's a 2.6 million 3-year ask. Oh, you mean like the percentage-wise in terms of the match?
How much money are you asking us to match?
We're asking for the 2.6.
That's
So
over
that
3
means
fiscal
you're
years.
getting 2.6, which would be 5.2.
No, so the 26-27, the ask is $535,710.77. For fiscal year 27-28, the ask is $690,169.61. And for 28-29, it's 1.3.
I see
So
that.
it's a 3 fiscal year total.
So how much money will Vallejo give, and how much money will the SAFER grant give?
Oh, I think she's asking for each year. You're asking for the total for each year.
Just total. Vallejo's going to give 2.6 million, and SAFER grant is going to give 2.6 million?
Oh, the SAFER grant was for a total of what?
It was, yeah.
I think it was 8?
So the allocation for the SAFER grant
It was 8.
for 6 firefighters per year, total package, is 1.574. That's 6 firefighters for 1 year. So if you times that by 3, it's about 4.7 million total. And in that time, and you have to understand, we've had SAFER grants since 2011. That's how we've continued to hire and continue to try to stay ahead of our attrition based on the gap that we've had from 2001 to 2011. In that time period, we only hired currently now 2 firefighters that are working. So at this point, we're making up for that gap and trying to stay ahead of it to keep overtime costs down, to keep engines open. So we need this staff to continue to hire. So the previous grants that FEMA offered were no in-kind match. They were 100% funded. FEMA has now changed it to where these matches become, these in-kind matches are not just staffing costs, they're training costs, they're equipment costs. So to outfit a firefighter, it's $50,000. So some of that in-kind match is what the city is paying, so it's not just salary. So over the life of the grant, you would take whatever the match is and subtract it from the $4.77 million, and that's what Vallejo would be paying for the duration of the SAFER grant. And as these individuals, as the grant runs out in March of '29, we would move these individuals from a SAFER position to a budgeted position as people retire. So we don't lose these individuals, they drop onto the budgeted positions. So this is a way to continue to stay ahead of that attrition rate. And the reason that we are asking for this overage and asked for the grant is due to the allotted time it takes to hire a firefighter. So currently, if I had a vacancy that was today, I have a retirement actually May 5th. If I didn't have an academy and I had to hire for that individual, and we started today, that person would not fill that vacancy for almost a year. It takes a year to recruit, train, and put on the floor a firefighter to backfill that position. Now that position, I'm bringing in at the lowest level. My retirement happens at a captain or an engineer level. It rarely happens at a firefighter level. So coupled with the hiring of a firefighter, I also have to do a register of eligibles test. So I have to do promotional examinations and then move somebody up into that position. So we have to continue all of these processes and continue to stay ahead of that so we don't carry these vacancies in the future. Currently, we're 3 bodies over 77, which is our par staffing. We're budgeted 6, and with the SAFER grant, that puts us at 12. If we can get to that 12 over and continue to strive to hire those positions, we can lower overtime costs by over half on top of that. So it's important for us to continue to fund and recruit these individuals to keep those costs down, to keep our engine staff, and to keep the overtime down. That's why we went after this grant with FEMA.
So, totally get it. But, it's, of course, a lot of money, right? I would love to see the breakdown and what you anticipate, what the funds are going for, right? And all of the things, you just lay it out plus what you expect the overtime would be reduced by, so that way that money goes back into your fund, so that way it shows you the ROI on it. I don't know.
Through the chair, so we do have some, sorry, so now I have to side-eye it. We do have some general numbers. We believe that if they are able to staff up to the full 12 positions, that potentially they could, so cutting the overtime, 40, 50% will result in about a $2 million savings annually.
Yeah, when we crunch the numbers, 12 over gives us 4 extra a day. That's almost 1,480 overtime shifts a year that we don't have to fill.
It equates to about 50% of our overtime. Yes.
So, we're applying for this grant, or this grant has been actually granted?
This grant has been approved by council.
You have it.
And this, you've received it before, right? This is your.
We've received, we've received grants since like 17.
Our first Safer grant was 2011.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, because I'm doing this in my head trying to figure it out. Knowing the matching funds was coming, if the matching funds isn't approved, what happens to the grant?
It would have to be paid out of the general fund.
Or worst case scenario, we would lose the grant. If we can't come up with our matching monies, then we lose the grant.
Okay. So definitely not something we would prefer to happen.
Correct.
Okay.
From the, did we do? Did I do public comments?
Through the chair, yes, we do have a public member of the public who would like to speak online.
Okay.
Anna Bergman, please unmute yourself. You have the floor.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, okay, there we go. This is what I was talking about earlier. I just feel so strongly about the people that keep us safe, know what they're doing, and I disagree with professionals, again, and people that risk their lives being challenged by people that aren't elected or hired. The committee has no accountability. Last year, I gave Gillian Hayne, I don't know who was there, a stuffed puppy at city council because of how she was being treated. Because of how she was being treated. So, yeah, I think this is about the rights of workers, and there you go. And, this is an issue that people have very different opinions about, and I respect the dedication of people that I disagree with. Thank you.
Through the chair, no other speakers at this time.
Do we have any questions or comments from? Okay, can I get a motion to adopt a resolution to recommend funding for the 2026 FEMA Safer Grant Match, March 2026, March 2029, for $2,620,475.92.
I make that motion.
I second.
Chair Jones?
No.
Committee Member Briseño?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Motion passes with 4 approved and 1 opposed. Our next item is item R. Adopt a resolution of the Measure P Oversight Committee recommending, or in the alternative not recommending, that the Vallejo City Council authorize Measure P funding for the annual lease payments for the Zoll defibrillator lease agreement.
Again, just one slide so we can move this along. Last year, you guys gave us money to purchase new EKG defibrillators for the city. They're in service, they're on the engines. They've actually saved lives already. We're here asking for the remainder of the lease payments for our Zoll defibrillators. And we chose this route because at the 5-year mark, when we've had these monitors for 5 years, by doing the lease, they automatically will upgrade us to the latest and greatest next monitor. So we'll be 5 years with this one, and then in 5 years, we'll have a brand new one that will continue on, all for the same lease price.
Any public comment?
Through the chair, we do have a member of the public online. Anna Bergman, please unmute yourself. You have the floor.
All right. Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to call in again. I feel so strongly about safety equipment. And while I was on the Measure P committee, I didn't get a chance to speak because I was there when the defibrillators were discussed before. I happen to have worked in a cardiac unit, and so I did know about that, but these are things that keep people alive, and the people that save lives they're not asking. The people of Vallejo voted for security. We voted to be safer. So I think, follow the will. And anyway, thank you.
Through the chair, no other speakers at this time.
So if I'm reading correctly, for each year, it's $47,000 for the
Yes.
lease agreement?
Yes.
And you're asking us to pay for 9 years?
10.
I mean, what, 10 years?
10 years.
What? How did we get to a 10-year number?
It's a 10-year lease.
So it's a 0 lease or 10-year lease? You can't get a 1 year, 5 year, 3 year, 4, I mean, it's...
For this monitor, by doing the 10-year lease, it gives us the ability to upgrade in 5, and then we don't have to have another discussion about, are we staying with this monitor, are we going with a new one? Like, we're locked into the Zoll monitor for the next 10 years, and in 5 years,
What did we do last year that we approved?
You approved the initial $500,000 to get them into the city. So we put the $500,000 down. This is was it 1.2 for the total?
So the way we structured this purchase was with fiscal responsibility in mind for the long term. I initially got the $500,000 for 10 Zoll monitors. We put it out to bid, and the Zoll, we were able to get 10 monitors for the $500,000. If we were to buy them outright at the time we purchased them, the lifespan of those monitors is 4.5 to 5 years. On top of that, these come out with new technology every 5 years as well. So we would have used the $500,000 one time to purchase monitors that would have been obsolete in 3.5 years, and then had to have this discussion one more time. And then at that point, we had the option to pay another $160,000 to upgrade to the next model, so it would have been $660,000 total. And then the next model would have lasted however long, plus the purchase price of those monitors, which could have been, we estimated at a 5 to 8%, CPI increase over that time, that we would have been in these monitors for 2 generations for the 10-year lifespan for like 1.2 to 1.4 estimated. So with the way we structured this lease is we were able to purchase this generation of Zoll for the $500,000 down, And then we were to be able to pay the $45,000 lease payment for 10 years. And that gets us 2 generations of Zoll monitors. And we do not have to go into the new generation as soon as it comes out. We have 5 years from the start of this contract to go into the new generation. So if the new generation happens to come out next year, which it's slated to do, we don't have to go into it right away and then run out our 5 years. So this 10 years potentially saves us up to $500,000 in these Zoll monitors purchased. So this was a long-term planning, a long-term game. The previous lease that we had on the previous equipment, we paid a lease payment for that same monitor. So this was initially within our budget to pay this $45,000. So because Zoll is matching equipment to the ambulance company, we do not have to pay for the equipment to restock it. The previous monitor was a different product than what the ambulance company has, so they would not pay for our restock. So we already had a budget of a $25,000 lease payment for the previous equipment. And then you add the consumables that now we do not have to purchase, and we can move that money into this lease payment as well. And then we come into the financial challenge of the fiscal year where our budgets and supplies and services were cut 20%, and it puts a strain on being able to afford this overall lease payment. So we're coming to Measure P to solidify this 10-year long-term plan to give us the latest and greatest equipment, not only this particular monitor, but the new one when it comes out. And now we have the option to go into that one from this point in 4 years, which will last us another 5, because we're almost starting to our first year of this lease. So this will solidify this equipment without having to come back to purchase new equipment for the next 10 years.
So we spent $1 million.
Over the course of the 10 years, yes.
Yeah, for 10
As opposed to a potential 1.4.
Okay.
So, okay, and so this will be a one-time payment to Zoll for the lease. It's not going to be $428,000 sitting in some line item for each year to take out and pay a certain amount.
I would ask finance that question, how it would be structured.
That's probably.
Yeah, no, so we would encumber. So we would encumber this money and then we would pay that bill annually.
Which is good because we'll get interest.
Yep.
Well, I think my question is because if we were to approve it and you're paying an annual fee of $47,000 and the rest is sitting somewhere, in my opinion, and somewhere there's this little thought going off that if for some reason, because what the city unfortunately has been good with doing in the past is taking funds from one area to cover another cost here and cover another cost, and then when you go back, you no longer have that money. So if we're saying we're allocating $476,000 for this lease agreement, and each year you're just paying it, then there's no guarantee that this money is going to actually be used for that.
No, so this money can be encumbered under the contract and then draw down for the annual amount.
Is it a set price of $47,000?
Yes, 47,000 and change. That is the.
It's not going to increase?
No, that's the lease payment for the next 10 years.
And it covers all, how many is being covered in this lease? How many defibrillators are covered in this?
10.
The 10.
10. So we have eight in the field right now, and we always have 2 as reserves or backups. When we upstaff an engine on, 4th of July, we're able to put a full complement of paramedic equipment on that engine as well.
Okay. We have any more questions or comments? Did we do public comments already? Okay, yeah, we did. Can I get a motion to adopt a resolution recommending that the Vallejo City Council authorize Measure P funding for annual lease payments for the Zoll defibrillator lease agreement for the annual lease payment the next 10 years at $476,000?
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseño?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos? Yes. Vote passes with all approved. Gonna try and squeeze in one more.
Could we squeeze in the last two? The idea of the recruitment academies was related to SAFER. I mean, you asked several questions there. Would you feel comfortable taking those next two for fire? The PPE ask and then the recruitment?
So fire has two more asks before we go through the departments again. So if you're okay with hearing the last two, and then we can decide if we want to adjourn for the day.
You got one slide each? No.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's one slide each.
Okay. All right.
I was going to be last, and I knew you guys would be excited out.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so their next item is item S. Adopt a resolution of the Measure P Oversight Committee recommending, or in the alternative, not recommending, that the City Council authorize one-time funding in the amount of $250,000 for personal protective equipment, PPE, for the fire department.
Is this for the new people?
I'm sorry?
Is this for the new people?
This is actually on a lot of our gear. So in your packet, there should be a invoice from Ellen Curtis that is for, I think it's $341,000 in gear that needs to be replaced because of age and other factors that have been used. So this would go to the entire department. It would outfit all of our members with new PPE.
What's essentially the life for the PPE?
So for turnouts, we asked last year, they made that 10 years. Helmets never used to have a lifespan. Now it's 10 years, and they're like $1,200 a piece. And then with the wildland gear that we're using, I believe it's 8 years, or if it has any significant tears in it, and when you're in the brush, you tend to rip your stuff pretty easy. So it's just replacing and refreshing all of our gear. This also would help because we're trying to establish a couple new teams in the department. We're working to get a member onto Oakland Team 4 for USAR. We're working with the Napa CHP to help do like a helicopter rescue team because of the paragliders and hang gliders out there off of Ascot. If we can train with them and have the gear, we can go long line, get them, and it's a lot safer than trying to carry somebody down that hill. And then this is also for hazmat gear. Water rescue, we're trying to rebuild our water rescue program. We had that dog fire, we got our boat, we have our little inflatable, and we're working towards a grant to get us a bigger boat to offset and augment the Coast Guard because of their limited availability. So this money will go into, a million different PPE equipment.
Okay. Any public comment?
Through the chair, no members of the public at this time.
Any questions or comments for?
On second thought, we do have one member of the public here. Jim Burbidge, please unmute yourself. You have the floor.
Hi. I just wanted to say that I would be, as a resident of Vallejo, that I would support giving firefighters PPE, whatever they need to do their jobs. I really hope that you guys vote yes on that. That's it from me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion to adopt a resolution recommending that the City Council authorize a one-time funding in the amount of $250,000 for personal protective equipment for the fire department.
I make that motion?
I second.
Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseno?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Item passes with all approved. Our next item is item T, adopt a resolution of the Measure P Oversight Committee recommending, or in the alternative not recommending, that the City Council authorize one-time funding in the amount of $750,000 for 2 fire recruit academies scheduled for September 2026 and February 2027.
And only one slide. So we're asking for these funds because we spoke earlier, we're coming into that period of attrition. Potentially 7, actually guaranteed probably 5, but potentially 7 are going to retire at the end of this year. And if we we have penciled in an academy for September. They would graduate in the middle of January, and they'd be online by February. And that's when we'd want to start a second academy to make up for those retirements that are potentially coming in the 2027 year. And this is all in our drive to get to that 12 over that we're allotted for, to reduce our overtime and actually give our members the ability to go home a lot more often than they're having to stay and work. We're looking to hire 17, and it's about $43,000 in gear, equipment, training, classes, certifications that we spend per firefighter.
Where did the money come before?
So last year, I'll let the other chief talk.
Arthur Gonzalez, Battalion Chief, Vallejo Fire Department. So normally, we budget annually for 1 recruit academy per year. We've only been able to budget for 1 per fiscal year. So it's been in our budget. And then with the supplies and services cut, that was cut 20%. So it limits the amount of individuals that we can hire and outfit and train. Currently, right now today, with the SAFER grant and with the budgeted positions that we have vacant, we're 3 over of our par staffing, but we're budgeted an additional 9. So we're 9 bodies down right now. We have 9 vacancies that we can fill. To do a realistic 20-week academy in our size department, if we were to hire over that 10 number, it gets too logistically difficult to train these people appropriately. So we don't want to wait the 2 fiscal cycles, so we're asking for this money to do 2 back-to-back academies in the fiscal cycle, to keep this academy in that 10 or less, to hire the allotted vacancies, plus the attrition coming in December that we have scheduled. Now, we can ramp that back if that attrition doesn't happen, but what we'd like to do is at least hire that 9, and to do that, we're going to need the 2 back-to-back academies. So to answer your question, the budget is normally we budget for 1 academy per fiscal year, and this basically puts 2 academies in the same fiscal year where we can go back-to-back. So we can hire, train, and then while we're training, we're recruiting, and when they turn out, we can start another academy within the next month.
FEMA SAFER grant?
The SAFER grant gives us the budget to hire those individuals, but the actual academy is put on in Vallejo. We do our own recruit academies in-house.
So it costs $750,000 per academy?
No, that's the totality of both academies.
So you don't have it in your budget this year?
We have enough for 1 academy minus 20%. And I don't know what the budget season will bring as they move forward with the development.
How many attend the academy?
We do our best to hire our budgeted vacancies. That's what we're allotted to hire, so it's based on attrition. We don't do an academy with less than 3. We try not to go higher than 10. Right now, I have 9 vacancies. So we're in the number. The last academy we hired for 6, but due to just the market, we were only able to get 5. So we try to keep it within that 5 to 10 number.
So for $43,000 per person, it's $387,000.
For the 9?
Yeah, for 9 people.
But
That's
we're-
what your slide said,
We're,
right?
we're looking to hire 17.
Oh.
Yeah,
Because we've been doing-
we have expected retirements in December, up to 7 that we're aware of, just based on we call it a gap in our hiring from 2001 to 2011, based on the contraction of the city at that time. And as we expanded, it's been difficult to keep up with the hiring. On top of that, we've had a 30% attrition rate outside of retirements for individuals that leave our city to other jurisdictions.
Honestly, I'd like to see the breakdown of what you have budgeted now and what you're asking for, because if you're hiring 17, you have some kind of budget with the grant. 17 is 731,000. So all of it is not making sense. There seems to be like extra money, and I know there's not extra money, but it's not jiving from what you're saying.
Well, we knew it was at 7:30, but depending on where we are in the academy, if we can get our new recruits to a specific class, we try and get them to like a first in ops in Sacramento, so they get like real life fire experience early in their training, so we can figure out if they're going to stay or not. And then we try and bring in like a rope rescue class. So, and those are all additionals, but any money that we wouldn't spend out of this would come back to you.
I think I'd still like to see how it lays out, because between the, 2.3 million we just gave you, that's supposed to include some of that stuff, to get plus the 17, I would like to see how the numbers for the staffing with that grant, what you're hiring for attrition, and how it all lays out. Because it's not, to me at least, I don't know if it to anybody else, it's not flowing as nicely as I would like to see it.
If I can add some, maybe to clarify it, the SAFER grant is just for the firefighters coming on, correct?
Correct. It doesn't.
This money here is for the training. So it's actually 2 separate entities. So there's one and then there's another.
Correct.
So that's how I see the difference. So I see it.
Did we do public comment?
We have not asked for public
Oh.
comment yet.
Okay.
Through the chair, currently do not have any members of the public signed up to speak at this time.
Anybody on Zoom? Any other questions or comments? Can I get a motion to adopt a resolution of the Measure P Oversight Committee recommending that the City Council authorize a one-time funding in the amount of $750,000 for 2 fire recruit academies scheduled for September 2026 and February 2027?
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseno?
No.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Motion passes with 4 approved and 1 against. I will leave it to the committee to decide if they would like to hear more items. There are a total of 10 more items, starting with PD. Police has the next 4 items.
I would recommend we carry everything over to the next meeting.
Okay, our next regular meeting is May 11th, 2026. That is a Monday at 6 p.m. in the Vallejo room. The items that were not heard today that are on the agenda will be carried over to that meeting. We can,
Could we have that was a motion, but we didn't vote, so could we vote on that? Right.
Do we have to?
Yes, please.
By the way, we've spent $2.1 million today, so we're really only going to have about 500,000, 500,000, 5.1 or $5.2 million to spend the next session.
All of this is for, what you've heard tonight is for 26, 27, not for 25, 26.
For the next year, right?
Yeah, for next year. You
20
said the total, but not impacting, I mean, it's a carry forward, so you would essentially have 17 million for next year. That's what you'll earn. The revenue for Measure P next year is estimated to be about
Right.
17 million.
Right, but we'll probably spend another 13 million on roads, hopefully. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have replaced tires, and I am one of them. So I hope we spent 12 million this year on roads.
Yes.
And we expect to spend probably that, I hope, next year. Will be, if Public Works comes and does what they did in October and November, they'll ask for the engineering, and then the beginning part of the year, they'll ask for the funding. Hey,
I think we have a motion.
To vote.
Don't we?
You have a motion on the floor.
Okay, so we motion to adjourn this meeting. Can we get a vote to carry on the rest of the agenda to the next meeting? Yes.
Would anyone like to second? They
did.
did?
We did
Okay.
that already.
Great. Okay. Chair Jones?
Yes.
Committee Member Briseño?
yes.
Committee Member Bunch?
Yes.
Committee Member Gaddies?
Yes.
Committee Member Santos?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
we,
you, everyone.
We will be moving forward
Meeting
onto the
adjourned.
information calendar, which I have nothing to report. Do you have any future agenda items that were not discussed today that you would like? You are
we
free
get
to
an
adjourn,
updated
Chair.
spreadsheet?
No, we don't have anything.
You are free
I
to
would
adjourn.
like to take the gavel away from
This meeting has been adjourned.
Ms. Jones.